Hi guys, and welcome back to another review in the wrestling review of the annual. This is your NXT review from last night. So the episode aired on the 9th of September um 2025 for future reference, and we start off and we start off the episode of Javon Evans Evans um Evans basically and Josh Briggs get his ass to the ring. Um, if you didn't actually if you didn't actually see the social media exclusive video on X, you see Trevor on Evans going to Ava's office, and he basically was demanded to Ava on Josh Briggs at the start of the show, not in the middle of the show. Eva Eva tried to actually say to him, you're in the middle of the show, don't try and change it, but Trevor on seemed determined about getting in the match at the start of the show, and that's exactly what happened. So Josh Rigson comes out, and then we get rated to some Giovanni Evans's high risk offense, like a somersault pull. Honja dives over the top onto Briggs, and Javon takes control for the first couple of and it's until Josh Briggs, Briggs asserts himself, and this match was still Josh Briggs. You get obviously Evans start a combo. It goes for the cutter that presumably he got passed down to him by Randy. And unfortunately for him, it only gets a 2 count. He goes for it again off the top rope, but then Briggs takes off his chain. He had the raptor around his neck. Referee never saw it. 1, 2, 3, and Josh Briggs picks up the victory. Interesting point of debate that CRSO in Gary Channel actually he points out he seems to think that because it's part of Josh Briggs's attire that Briggs can use it as a weapon. But like if you're trying to do it when the referee doesn't see it, then it kinda doesn't add up like that. But it was an interesting point of view. Josh Briggs is kinda reminding me like a throwback to and Hansen or a newer version of JBL, but is actually a lot better and a lot more refined than JBL. Um, he's also he's also pretty good on them. The fans are chanting, "You still suck," but our legs go over as usual. The man's got some real heel heat, and yeah, and it was a pretty decent opener. Um, I still don't know if the rumour of Javon Evans winning both the NXT Championship and the TNA World Championship will come off because he seems to be losing a lot of matches at the moment, and this is the way it is addition into that back catalogue. Um, so yeah, so on the back, you see Eva trying to calm down, Ricky, he seems an over a Femi who are getting into, and they basically want to have a face and Eva as well. This Eva, and actually, he says both of them hang on him, and that he is can do it at NXT Homecoming or I from I from Full Sail University with the debut episode of the um of NXT um of NXT, and it was ridiculous. I seen from a FCW to war is um obviously throughout the night we get some big returns that I'll point out over the course of this review video. But Chadwick Williams actually says to Eva, dear, have dear, I showed up tonight, I'll be good for tonight, etc. Then, um, l- um, and, oh, um, and, Bob, so, like, thanks very much for, um, um, thanks very much for interrupting this, conversation. I thought I thought I was done with you, and Chirac Williams and Rapilla eyes back to Femi with Eve and he's got some unfinished business. I'll see you down the road, and obviously, you could kind of make the argument that the unification will actually happen at some point. It just doesn't really seem like it'll be a triple threat as some outlets are making it out to be, because Javon is losing to a number of matches, especially as a role eight, and it would just seem kind of foolish at the moment. Obviously, then we get to Chiric Williams and DIY in the ring. Of course, after that segment backstage in Geneva, offers their big to the CW ad, but so DIY sadly won't get an entrance. They again and hype up the fact there'll be an NXT Homecoming. They're looking forward to facing Trick Williams. They hype up their achievements again and sarcastically they call Trick Williams the greatest NXT superstar of all time. That brings out Trick Williams, both Champa and Georgia. I know again around the achievements they run Trick. They say you've got no friends. If Trick says I have got someone and then out comes Carmelo Hayes. Now that's what is now that's a bit bizarre because you have Chicago because you have Carmelo Hayes sort of kind of funny. He's the I but because as he says he built the house as NXT winner. I will or just right and how you think you're better than everyone and you even ran down me he last to and Chira, Cuba's actually on the offensive to Melo. It basically it said, well, don't even go there. Here I'm holding down to the and them and except Camelo there and congratulate it's on DIY, however, um, DIY, however, and challenged them later on in the segment to tag match, and to tag match DIY versus Trick Melog, and, at home, and, Trick and, Trick and Melo really are kind of as a stint as to even up so like they're kind of and you're the sponge with a bit of Upton and Gurga. I know the and says also all of us have got history and and Karma will even say as you as two of the biggest backstabbers in any he has to you've turned on each other a couple of times. But yeah, then the mama matches set and the match really looking forward to it. Even though you've still got even though you've still got Chiraco holding the TNA heavyweight championship in the back around. I think ultimately he'll probably lose that bound and forget Ori up against Santana. I think Santana I should say, but yeah, it kinda. it kind of confuses the picture a bit, but it's still an interesting match. In the back you see old uh you see the curtains area of strategy for the match. She s- s- all the has already talks about the style that she kinda has a bit else. Or a raptor and orange areas or like how are you gonna carry how are you gonna carry three else uh, yes also so also as I need effects to be else into be another case area the and asks are you focused of tonight so all says she is and then they both say oh, it's going to get these titles I'm sure that'll go so I mean he as will he go through the rest of the episode, and then we get to the WWE um, Championship Tournament match, but in Fabio Apache and in Reed now order now order it already isn't it has been stepping up in the character development um, department. You also have Fabio Pachi who was on Triple A if already he is part of the Triple Threat match with Phil and Natalia as Herschel Ace and Friday have a SmackDown at the World's Killer Item showing Vegas and it's obviously in Natalia and kind of um and kind of a sort of multiple promotions sort of UFC style gimmick. She's in the crowd, obviously, on looking at the match. And actually, I'm not really a fan of the WWE's big concept. The matches for are too short for my liking, but the finish of the match is actually Italia wasn't is actually Natalia wasn't the stir action and it's actually Natalia causing the distraction or even to any or it getting a victory with a kind of a run and kind of a running E-type maneuver and gets a free count and advances to face Candace or Array heels in the final of the Speed Championship tournament, and I'm not very I'm not very in on heels actually. I'm not too keen into heels facing off in the finals of the Speed tournament. The actor was on if I so recovered the Speed Championship. The final of the tournament at the as a 3 minute style as a 3 minute style match similar to the previous rounds and the championship match is 5 minutes and it's exactly so now you know the final one and the final one number on contender of tournament. And as I've said, and as I've said on a few occasions, and a survey, and also, and also in previous that the speed onset is kind of a pointless concept. It makes the opponent or any MO, MO it can be very stupid as the fact is you have to beat your opponent in a 3 minute time and there's not enough awful lot of time to get an equal amount of offense and and unfortunately the speaker concept doesn't really the whole lot for me as a viewer, but because you have to keep in my mind to the time I'm at and you are constantly having uh, you're at the um you're at the time I'm extra and it's just annoying. I'm not actually actually expecting the talent and as to tournament. Everybody in the tournament as a the wrestle. It's just the affiliation I don't enjoy. It needs scrapped entirely. I think that's why its own standalone show on X is actually scrapped because nobody paid attention with that's because the concept is basically for people who have short attention spans and can them TikToks and YouTube shorts. It's not the it's not designed it's not designed for the more it's not designed for the more sort of enthusiast a professional wrestler. But yeah, if you didn't know that's a mode, he went up against Canada Soul, or in the final of the contender of tournament, and obviously the victor of that match was on to challenge all for the L yeah, it's kind of move on from us. Um, so the so end with a good a good it or almost of obviously well, it's another or kind of in the past up again, but it's kind of more cycled arranged element to the gimmick similar to the stuff of she would eventually an AEW during her on another promotion said and said to the girl armor is supposed to be perfect. AJ doesn't know what she is the on said and says said and says the girl armor has if said and says to Jordan Beaver AR will only show you what evil true is that will make the devil and the devil and the devil will hush and and she says it'll come hell I know that you're kinda actually seen you are kinda actually seen the precautions for all the punch to the mouth the Jordan Grave ever and yeah it's good character development and hopefully I've started this I are something about what to pick is interest um obviously obviously because he hasn't seen Monroe's AEW on as or I am he kind of stout on the whole Tony Storm feud like extra she's very well versed and hard over I want she's and GCW and also an AEW etc. On that our alternative of nickname as the hard as the hard or Bob so so yeah automatic and said or as well but yeah you'll see you'll see a very sort of evil sort of or calculated version of another or as opposed to the actually sort of narcissist Hugh she's got a very she's got a very related site were obviously now we head to the fall now we head to the fall. I even page for this avion heights of not a lot and there's not a lot I actually see about this ma actually obviously is the achieve your own nations and foul ag of the suspended and warm ag also attach them together and host and obviously um and obviously there's a few decent um there's a few decent bits of action and the majority of different age to control avion heights but I can eventually hoist the American the American well, our heights took a eaten on the outside. It was kind of tossed. It was kind of tossed out on the outside, just that ring side, and then he eventually sees victory. He then wasn't grabbed the Canadian flag, but and some old kill he drapes it over even age this one you see that a ton of time or he is can it one of his im using a obviously the fella I'm buying each other of it you see him he count the selfies that he has a and he has a selfie of Ethan Ager's just had the Canadian maple if draped over him and obviously a bit with it are on you see obviously a bit with it are on you see of a video of him challenging Ethan Page for all the NXT off um on the NXT of American Championship um that is confirmed just before the end of and the um I should actually point out though that before the actual of Ethan Page and TV on Heights as an NXT anonymous video of Ethan Page given I was on some advice about how to deal with a fellow exes and that actually he gets or or up in the next segment, and and actually he says to Charles, the say essentially that he been given him. I was on the device and how to deal with he in never isn't isn't any rid of ice Charlie the kind of a hurry and of a hurry is but then you see the one or the and 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 all of it so during the as I see all this women are you also and and the actual of this you chair and the wall or such or obvious that that's not going to be the end um of that feeling. So the end of the next match on the card is Hank and Hank versus the Ox. The other I think you know and Ox because they're the tag champion and Hank and Tank stuff are out strongly hit the and he's pretty ill, you know, get, it's a very close, it's a very close near fall, for, but then the Hawks, he get back, I can't tell, it's so dark, he'll go only take control, but I can tank it up. And again, the famous belly is oh, ash, and then you try and go for another cover with the extra action and that they beat the own on the and oh, on James actually it says um Joe O'Henry is not commenting. And as all see on say his name and he appears Joe O'Henry comes out to try and help her and can cause it distraction but ultimately it kind of needs uh, Hank and Tank unfortunately and get distracted and Yano and has anxious hearts and gets the victory. So yeah, Ox he actually the ends and it just actually it seems that Joe O'Henry's joined at the hip pull after this action you get thought that it would have been cool for a pull week, but now it's kind of getting a bit repetitive. To be honest, Joe Henry should be in and around for that Williams and Obafemi, but instead Eddie's involved in a sort of story. I don't really get it, but the match itself, I thought was pretty good. Um, Obviously, some high sportsman, if I can, I can like Ives Matable is rhythm match, etc. And I'm not too sure about this Cutler or James. I it just seems like too much of a if all a bit young and more after the rest of the arcs. Guys, I mean it's all it's him that's putting these and you and always and like and stuff like that. It just doesn't really how and so that but and obviously and obviously the next item of the show is obviously all of ice actually talking about a family and the build up and and the build up of or match against um or a build up for match against JCJ and for the NXT in the championship. It goes into detail about her father's type one or school because they're on a type one or school in Miami. She also talks about she also talks about her being a sister or training partner. All that is kind of doubled by us as and then get some interesting footage at the school of ice training etc. It's a very well put together it's a very well put together I, I will obviously then um obviously then when it cut to the JC Jane and Fatal fulfill and the war or or J is JC's like wasn't that so too bad um 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 Uber at the of Aces only rose to the latest NXT um in champion he no else eh um so you so you and she asks um So the entry asks if I'll in and just as many of the day for the number one contender as triple threat tag team match for the and as to face Charlotte Flair here and our ex will has obviously in of say that the uh, a chasing as both of foul in and as many action orders to get the victory. Um, so obviously, um, so, so obviously, right before the relay could get or right before the body could get a deal hyping up NXT Homecoming, and it's actually a very put together but a video you have Yanka Bell here you have Taylor um Honey you have Sami Zayn Stephanie Vac and Stephanie Vac here you have and Bow you have you have yeah you have Ioska and a few other was in the video you have finished and Braille. It's a very put together history short documentary hyping up next to each event. Um, obviously, obviously WWE on the expectation of a video packages and yeah, as an tribute over that action that came before in the eighth episode, and then the in event or enemy in event the killing of Tatum Park Throne and as he aimed a feat and and a feat so area and then fatal influence Jasmine and Val. And but before we get to the final two teams, obviously you have the communication foul in actual shops some area into solar into solar perhaps is Olsen Aronzaria it gives it gives Jasmine it gives Fallon Henry it gives Fallon Henry the easy pin. They had oddly is on the outside. Mm, uh, and your body is on the outside, basically for um, in a room here, and obviously that as I did a bit more on yours, well, obviously, obviously hit him and as he get the vet, or either as time foul in Henry, he it's pinned usual in Jasmine, but the NJC and says to off um Jasmine and Henry is the as is that I've had done of the of ye are run as NXT ever as in you get both one in the time on still one it's try ofrespo answerable gig above respo answerable for me using the knock out like champion champion and don't need any the and either I'm the great it is NXT Women's Championship and actually says she held the Knockouts Championship at the same time. She doesn't need any and and it comes to Ethne like air who just came out one and then the three who just came out one and then the three um um as she and as to as Jane can get a JC you finally beaten you beat me for that and it's champion Chapa she was a double champion as well. She held the NXT North American Championship and the NXT Women's Championship simultaneously. And the women's division apparently doesn't, but the division doesn't on a unique well time it runs on a face time and out comes to Ethne Stiller and she says um she he says she's the one on this reigning in champion and entire company. She's eating Naomi, Charlotte, Young, Aya Jackson, Jake, all another ancient and says AC Jane is not what the Gary is champion of all ancient and said that she also held the NXT Women's Championship uh, and obviously um and obviously she and says oh isn't that you the high oh house have come back to um high all have come back to in it all big and to finish that and I finished that and says hang on a minute Roman if getting he saw outcomes or the yeah that pull he and then um and then and he says he says you are not the greatest NXT Women's Champion. She's real a dealer. The two women standing are some of the best the WWE has offer and to it will be fatal influence against Judge Ratton Rattle and the also actual if I am obviously to one for and on the outside and the and the baby face he stand and then uh, and then there or or and and I think I think this will cause fatal influence to the and and it'll cause Jasmine next to um it'll cause Jasmine to turn face as obviously I think Jasmine will be on the receipt even into the pinfall this time during that match and then because I think because I think that's just story it's heading where Jasmine's always is been by JC's side that as long as being a sort of evil sort of nasty um and JC and even Fowler and to on her and I think that she'll be the kid essential as obviously the worst uh, um um distract distract yeah but yeah so overall guys I thought it is an interesting episode obviously not as you know all as previous episodes but it's having an um, an interesting segment to end off on the matches I thought uh, um, I thought the matches apart from apart from apart from this it apart from this it match I know this one yeah have a few angles set up or home and you have obviously them and or carry or change, etc. So it's very so it's a very put together for the next episode, and yeah, very character development and having a bit of a soul war. Yes, but yeah, sometimes you get that, sometimes you get that, from shows, but it sets it up for the next episode, so, uh, I sort of, but they were like, that they were like, yeah, and or I and tell me or thoughts in on that section. I'll see you over very soon.